Yeah, so a lot of people have been asking me about all the kind of herbal potions and lotions that I make. So here's how to do herbal infused or flower infused oils. So basically, you will be wanting to pick the flowers or the herbs that you've gathered, and then chop them up, and then leave them to wilt. Because if you're doing an oil infusion, oil and water don't mix. So you'll want to have them dried out a little bit, but not totally dry. It's best to use fresh herbs. But I mean, obviously, like that is quite a seasonal thing. So it depends what you've got available. So here I've got an awesome jar of English marigold and some chamomile flowers. And all you do is basically you just put it in the jar. And then I've got some nice, this is organic hemp oil. So, but you can literally use anything like olive oil, whatever. It just kind of depends what you want, really. And then you just kind of fill this up. There you go, almost to the top, and literally just have it so it's just covering the top. So there we go. Okay, so now you've got your herbs and your flowers that are infused with your oil. Then you've got a couple of different methods for making the full infusion. So one method that I've been experimenting with the last couple of years is the sunlight infusion method, which is absolutely fantastic. Just gonna pop that down. So the sunlight infusion method is brilliant because you just take your jars and then leave them in a greenhouse. If you don't have a greenhouse or a polytunnel or anything, then a clear plastic or glass mixing bowl or jug, and just literally stick it on top of the jar in a sunny area, and then leave it for a month, shaking it a couple of times a day, and you'll have a fantastic infusion. Or you can use a bain-marie infusion method. So that's where you just have a little pan of water and then just get the jar or the jug of whatever oil infusion that you're making. So I've got some meadowsweet and chamomile and a pinch of wormwood for anti-inflammation in this one. So you just stick it in there. And over 3 days I would heat it, so in the evening, and then let it cool down, and then heat it the next day, and then do that for 3 days. And when you're heating it up, I would just kind of not let it boil, but just let it get to the boiling, and then like just let the whole thing cool down. Don't take the jar out of the pan, just let the whole thing cool down. And then the next day you do exactly the same, and then the next day you do exactly the same, and then the day after you will be putting your wax in. So whatever wax you've got, I would suggest melting that down in a jug. So I've got some nice organic soy wax in here. So yeah, then basically just melt that down bain-marie style. And for making creams and salves and ointments, I'd usually use a ratio of, if I was using soy wax, I'd do it about 50-50. And then if I was using beeswax, I'd do it about 60-40, so 60% oil and then 40% beeswax, so you get a nice consistency. And also be aware that if you're wanting things to last for a long time, it's always good to put a preservative in. So kind of things like tea tree, things like that are quite good as preservatives. But if you're using beeswax, then you shouldn't really have an issue. And creams and ointments and salves like normally last for a couple of years if you kind of store them in a cool, dark place. So yeah, this is one I made earlier. So I have a sleep and relaxation balm that's really nice. So yeah, that's what it looks like. So yeah, I'm quite happy with those, and it's really good to be able to utilize the hedgerow for medicine. I mean, if SHTF does happen, then it's kind of, I mean, what are we going to do for medicine? It's going to have to be going back to the old-fashioned ways of plant-based medicine. And I think at the moment it's great that these are all available as alternatives and as complementary therapies. So, you know, herbalism, it's absolutely amazing. And, you know, until like a couple of 100 years ago, it was pretty much all that we had. So yeah, I think as preppers looking into to herbal local healthcare is definitely something to do. But yeah, that's how I make the oil infusions. I'll put a link in. I've got a video that I did about how to make the wax bases for them. So I'll put a link to that in. And yeah, I hope that's been helpful. Peace and love. Look at me being all fancy and doing some sort of weird video editing to reappear again. I totally forgot to say that obviously at the end of it you need to sieve it all out, and you need to, before you make up your ointments and salves and lotions, you need to basically use a bit of cheesecloth. I use a few pegs because it's way easier than any other method I've found. Stick it over a jug or the jar that you want to put your infused oil into, and then you can literally just like drain it into that, put all the herbs through, and then at the end of it you can gather it all up and you've got a poultice that you can use directly on the skin as well. I've got a few little jars that I have, like a few little mini poultices that I've already pre-made up and keep in a tiny little bit of the infused oil as well, which are absolutely fantastic. So I'll have the ointment of whatever kind of concoction that I've created, and then I'll also have a poultice which will be like directly to apply on the skin. So yeah, I mean, with the chickweed ointment that I make, if I kind of got caught by a stinging nettle, then I'd go for the ointment. If I fell in the bush while drunk, I would definitely go for the jar of poultices. So yeah, peace and love.